This episode is brought to you by Geno's East of Chicago in Los Angeles. Founded in Chicago in 1966, now over 5 years in Los Angeles, in Sherman Oaks, they use the same recipes and ingredients they do in Chicago. It's like taking a trip to the Windy City without the cold weather. Get the authentic Chicago deep dish and thin crust tavern style pizza, or the great Italian beef and Italian beef Italian sausage combo sandwiches. Plus, there's 12 screens showing Chicago and LA sports. Have a genuine Chicago dog with all the toppings as you watch the Cubs, Sox, Dodgers, and Angels. No ketchup. Now available year-round. Check out the menu at genoseast.com. Lunch specials Monday through Friday until 2 p.m. Happy hour features selected wines and beers for $5 and $6 for food. Monday through Thursday, 3 to 6 p.m. Geno's East. Great food, great atmosphere, and great people. Sit back and relax. It's time for peanuts, popcorn, and Cracker Jacks. Hey, how's it going? I'm your host, Jeff Santo, and I'm here with my wife, Christy.
Hello, hello. So we got a lot of comments from our last episode, which we talked about the Clubhouse, the Netflix series, and they want to see a little bit more from us on reviewing other movies or series, and that's wonderful. It got me thinking about how we got to be critical movie watchers, because I wasn't always a critical movie watcher, and I got to be that way because of you.
Well, I'm a critical everything watcher, a critical baseball watcher, a critical anything of what I know or have a lot of experience in doing or participating in. And movies, you know, you look at like baseball, a game, and you've watched many games with me.
Oh, yeah.
and just as same with movies, if you don't have the right players, you know, the
right lighting,
everything. I'm talking about like baseball. You look more of a strategic of the game, and then you go same thing with movies. Though it's like if you don't have the tone and all the right elements, it's easy to pick out flaws once you're used to what is, you know. And I'm not against like something out of the box, because then you see, okay, there's got to be a connection to out of the box.
You know, but sometimes I have to say, I can stick around a little bit longer. I can watch something. I need to see it in a whole before I can judge it in its parts. And you're somebody that can sense right away whether it's good and bad, and then you're out.
Well, yeah, I give it a long enough time, I think, to say, okay, this is going on for a pretty long time, and I'm feeling a lot of holes, and I'm not into the stream of the tone or the structure. So, yeah, that's kind of, it's a feeling, I guess. Yeah. So, and maybe you're just you're analytical in a great way to basically kind of say, I'm gonna stick with it a little longer because there's something that you have to be liking to do that, right?
There's something there that I'm like, okay, if this turns this way, I'm on board. Or if this goes that way, I have hope, or I have skin in the game in some way. So I guess you could say. It's
funny, though, that like you say that I notice it before you. When I think like I wait to like pick out things and say stuff to you, you're like, no, don't go there yet. Don't go there. And then when you finally like say something like, okay, I am right. So you kind of like validate that I'm right in a lot of ways.
I'm going to say this. This is where you were right and wrong in the same instance. So I don't know if any of our audience is watching You on Netflix. It just had its 5th and final season. And this last season was the best season. And you bounced out at around season 2.
Meaning the show You, I bounced out of You.
Yes, and
Jeff.
I bounced out.
I did bounce.
But that, you know,
because the character was too,
again, we're watching a bad guy. You know, we had the cool bad guys, right, with the Sopranos and all that. And then at some point, it just kind of got to be a little too much bad guys. And we now look at things and go, oh, it's another bad guy, and turn it off. I just turn it off now. But you got to me a little bit differently because of the romantic angle on that. And they really made a point at the end and switched around the storyline at the end, and he got his. So
Yeah.
I'm glad that I hung
You stayed
in
with
there.
you stayed with the if you're looking for love, it's okay to kill someone as long as you're still looking for love. That's kind of
not
what that
really.
character was.
No, but
He just couldn't find it, so he killed the
You're
person.
hoping that somebody could change. And
Yeah,
that love can-
You keep hoping. But no, it's great because we're in the thick of getting our movie made, and I've never been like so focused with another person on that level to say what we need to do to give us the best chance to succeed and win and get to the World Series of so-called independent filmmaking, and that goal. And that's why I am so in tuned right now to everything that I'm looking at. If there's a failure in it or something that doesn't work in the baseball game, why do you make that move? God damn it. Why do you make that move? That makes no sense, because if a bench coach came at me and said, if we make this move, this is what will happen, could happen. And if that happens, we look really bad. So maybe we shouldn't do that. Yet they still do it.
But at least the Cubs are doing okay.
Oh, they are.
right now.
I don't, I'm just throwing, they are doing, it's fun to watch.
Fingers crossed, knock on wood.
Yeah. But we should have more. What's going to be great is that we're going to talk about our film and the process of the filmmaking as we go along. And, when we start pre-production, which is coming up. And that will be really interesting because I think people will be with us through this. I'm just excited how prepared we are and what this can become.
I know, me too.
And now I'm excited about this show because I have Willie Wilson as my special guest.
Yes.
What a great guy, man. I mean, he's one of my favorites. I've known him for a while. And boy, he played on Royals teams of the 80s, which they were unbelievable. I mean, we all knew that team and George Brett, Willie Wilson. And just to get his take on the game today and just his wonderful career, where he was a 5-tool player. So can't wait for you to hear that conversation. And then I'm going to crackerjack my good buddy Joey Banks and ask him, how did you lose the game in the final game with my brother? You guys were loaded. How'd you get beat by my guys?
Should be fun. Enjoy.
Hans Christian Andersen said, "Where words fail, music speaks." At Joey's Song, we believe truer words were never spoken. Our mission at Joey's Song is to raise money to fund the desperately needed research to find treatments and cures for the devastating and intractable epilepsies that are robbing futures and taking lives. Between 50 and 65 million people worldwide have epilepsy, and 1/3 of those folks, approximately 20 million, cannot find relief from their seizures through any known treatments or surgery. Joey's Song is dedicated to and in the memory of Joey Gamal, who died in 2010, just shy of his 5th birthday after battling a rare form of epilepsy his entire life. Every year, Joey's Song brings together Rock and Roll Hall of Famers, Grammy and Emmy winners, and top 40 hitmakers for a series of one-of-a-kind concerts that have helped us be a part of over $1.75 million raised over the last decade. Artists from bands like Cheap Trick, The Bangles, The Go-Go's, Garbage, The Goo Goo Dolls, Toto, and countless others all help us give hope to the families fighting epilepsy today. To find out more about Joey's Song and stay up to date on our next one-of-a-kind show, visit joeysong.org and join our mailing list or follow us on the social media channels of your choice. Thanks for your time, and thanks for supporting Joey's Song, and thanks for listening to Peanuts, Popcorn, and Cracker Jacks.
My special guest played 19 seasons in the major leagues. He was the first switch hitter to win a batting title since Mickey Mantle, hitting .332. In 1980, he played in 161 games, led the league with 705 at-bats, hit .326, scored 133 runs, had 230 hits, 100 hits from both sides of the plate, stole 79 bases, and won a Gold Glove. How he didn't win the MVP, I don't know. Okay, he's a 2-time Silver Slug Award winner, led the league in triples 5 times, ranks 12th all-time in stolen bases, and won a World Series in 1985, hitting .357 against the St. Louis Cardinals. One of the greatest switch-hitting speedsters in Major League Baseball history, and a great human being who ended his career on the north side of Chicago. Willie Wilson, So cool to have you on the show, man.
Hey, thanks, Jeff, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
Right on. I got first question. What's the equation to getting 100 hits from both sides of the plate?
Well, I can tell you one thing. It wasn't easy. But, that year, I had to get 3 hits from my right side facing right-handed pitchers. And, I had 130 on my left side at the time, and I had 3 shy of 100 on my right side. So because I was a switch hitter, the right-handed pitchers came up, and so for my last 3 at-bats, I had to get 3 hits right-handed. Well, not last 3 at-bats, but the last days. And I hit 3 sliders for base hits, so that was pretty cool.
Wow, man. Now, are you a natural lefty?
No, natural right-handed. Started switch hitting in AAA.
Really?
I was, for some reason, I never questioned what the Royals were trying to do with me. I just figured they were trying to get me to the big league. So, I didn't have a great year in AA. I got hurt, hit 250 something, I think. And they wanted to use my speed, and so did I. And so they told me in AAA, just go up there, and even if you hit 190 or 120, just keep doing it. And so I was working on it in spring training, didn't feel comfortable with it, but I stuck with it. And the thing that made me feel like it was going to work was there was a pitcher, can't think of his name. It was opening day, something like that. And everybody kind of knew I was switch hitting. And the first pitch he threw at me was up and in. And I didn't know which way to go. Because right-handed, you go one way, left-handed, you go the other. So I just got stuck. And I just screamed, and the ball went past me, and it didn't hit me. But the pitcher started laughing. And once he started laughing, in other words, it pissed me off. And I was going to swing at the next pitch no matter where it was. And I swung at it, kind of hit it inside out. It went down the left field line, hit off this, bounced the other way, and I circled the bases, and I kind of came back to the plate, and I go, hey, maybe this might work.
Wow, man. I talked to Don Kessinger about his switch hitting too when I had him on. He started learning the big leagues. DeRocher do that. And, he kind of said similar thing was different. Like, it's weird because your body's used to how you're going to react from the right side. You're not used to it on the left side. How did you acclimate that? Like, what was the key to getting the left-handed swing and then understanding how to duck out of a ball and all that?
Well, we had a pretty good hitting coach in the major leagues, Charlie Lau.
Oh, yeah.
And he worked with me, the way he worked with me. He worked with George Brett, the young guys, Frank White, Hal McRae, those guys. And what he would do is, George, the way he hit, he would put my hands up trying to hit like that. And every time I did that, I was floating forward. He would have me put it on my shoulder and try to take it off, lift it off, and I felt slow. And then one day he said, just make the bat go back and forth, while you're just laying there. And he would always say, try easy, right? So when the bat was waving back and forth, it almost got my timing together. I had to time the pitcher, and all I was trying to do was hit the ball to left field, hit it away from the base that I was running to. And he taught us, and if you see it in the big leagues now, they throw the head of the bat first, right? And wherever the head of the bat goes, that's where your head is going to go. And so what Charlie did was he taught us to throw the handle first. So when you're throwing the handle down, your head is down, everything's down. And we practice hitting the fastball the opposite way. And if you can hit the fastball the opposite way, then you should be right on time for the off-speed pitches to pull. And so that's what we decided to do. And all of us did it. George, Hal, Amos, Big John, Frank White. It was just the way we were taught to hit. And, we were on AstroTurf. So if we just, my swing was down, I wanted to hit the ball in the ground, make it pop up, or a line drive. I didn't want to hit anything in the air, because if I hit it in the air, it was an out. I had what you call warning track power.
Right. Yeah. Well, and if you got to pass the outfield, it was a possible inside the park home run.
Right. A line drive was different so much than a fly ball. So that's how he taught us to hit. And so for me, as I got older and stronger, I could pull a fastball, because everybody was starting to play me over the left field. And so what you try to do is try to hit it where they're not. And what he would do, Charlie would do, he'd be in the third deck in the stadium. He'd be behind the plate. He was hardly ever on the field. So he wanted us to hit the balls up the middle or the opposite way. And if in batting practice, you pull the ball, you hear, "Hey, you big dummy." And you look around and you're like, "Where the heck is he?" He's up in the third deck looking at you, the way you hit. And he knew how to communicate with us. And I just felt like without him, I probably wouldn't have been able to be as successful as I was.
Wow, that's amazing, and that's saying something. And he was such a great hitting instructor. How did it change, like you just said? How are they now? Why wouldn't you continue that way if you got guys like you're hitting you hit it 305 times, George Brett. You guys were just great hitters. Why wouldn't they keep that? Why are they changing that today?
I think it's kind of the new generation. I'm not saying it's bad. What I'm saying is I played in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. I saw it start changing in the beginning of the 90s, where when I first came up, it was 21 veterans, 4, maybe 5 rookies, right? And then toward the 90s, it was 4 or 5 veterans and 20-something young guys. And so in order to have that many young guys, you got to have a younger GM, you got to have a younger manager, you got to have a younger hitting coach. And so everything changed that way. And then you have analytics, which drives me up a wall.
Did you ever like study a pitcher before every game? Did you do that, or just?
We didn't have the video like they have now. They can go back after an at bat and then look at the video. Our stuff wasn't, like your dad, we were word of mouth.
Right.
Like if a guy was throwing really hard, I was the leadoff hitter. I'd come back or go past who was hitting second and go, "Hey, man, you better tune it up, because he's throwing really hard and his ball's moving this way or that way." And it's word of mouth. And as you face a guy, in those days, they went 7 innings at least. So you're going to go up against them at least I was, at least 3 times. So you get a chance to see the movement and all of that. Now these guys, their hitting coaches are talking about, lift and separate is what we used to call it. We're trying to hit it out the ballpark. Well, sometimes you just need to make contact.
Yep.
And that's where I get really kind of difficult with the game, because the games, it's home runs or bust.
Yeah, it is. And you're not seeing that average, maybe one player a team hitting 300 at best,
Right.
Some not even having a 300 hitter. And that has a lot to do with that. I think the analytics. And then don't you think they're a little bit too much in their head? Because studying the pitcher, when you're on the bench looking at, your laptop or whatever, you got to kind of lose all that stuff when you go to the plate.
Well, that's what I'm looking at. There's too much information.
Yeah.
Right. 60% he's going to throw this pitch, and 5% this pitch, and you're going up there. You got all of this stuff, and you miss a fastball right down the middle.
Right.
And I'm like, Jesus, man. Our motto was be prepared to hit the fastball. That's the pitch you grew up hitting in high school, college, whatever, minor leagues, fastball. And for me, that was, you react to everything else. And if you're prepared to hit the fastball, and for us, the opposite way, then you're staying on the ball and you're trying to, if it throws a curveball or a change up or a split, then you're able to either pull that ball because you're trying to hit the fastball the opposite way. So you're staying on the ball more. But when you start missing fastballs,
that means you're looking for something else, right?
Well, you're looking for stuff you can't hit.
Right.
You're looking for a changeup. You're looking for a split finger. Why are you looking for stuff you can't hit? Look for stuff you can hit.
Right.
And then stop looking for stuff you can't. And that's where I get so frustrated. I see a man on third, no outs, 1 out. Jesus, look for a pitch that you can drive, but pull it. All right? I went to the game the other day with the Royals. I got a man on third. Our motto is look for a ball up with a man on third with no outs or 1 out and try to hit it in the air. Look for a ball up. I don't want to look for a ball down. That's a ground ball. So he can't advance. It's just that I feel like they don't really get into the game or know the game as much as we did. And I'm not trying to say we were better, but we didn't have 10-year contracts.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
We were going year by year. And so I remember the first time I saw Big John Mayberry, Pete Lecoq was on our team. You know Pete.
Oh, yeah.
And, man was on second, and Pete was supposed to pull the ball, so the man goes to third, and then Big John hits a fly ball, ground ball. We got to run. And Pete hit a bullet, but he hit it right to left field. The guy couldn't advance. Big John pulls the ball. The guy goes to third. He comes back in the dugout, grabs Pete Lecoq in the chest, and goes, "Lecoq, do your job." You see, that was the difference, back then. Do your job. I'm a rookie sitting on the bench, go, shoot, I better do my job. I don't want Big John grabbing me by the chest, right? And so that's the difference. Now I think guys are afraid to say or afraid to do. I mean, like if a guy's not doing his job, we had dudes coming up, hey, man, do your job. Yeah. You want to win. And it made you either do your job or, you're not going to do your job and you're not going to be there. But right. I feel like there's so much money and guys that, they can't send them down because they got a 10-year contract. And so they're going to stay there. And then after a while, you got this money coming in. How aggressive are you going to be as a player? You go, well, I made an out and I'm just going to, man, I was getting embarrassed to strike out. It was embarrassing. And I couldn't look at the fans coming back. I put my head down and walk in the dugout. These guys are like, it's no big deal.
Yeah, it's troubling when you're watching a guy take a fastball down the middle with 2 strikes. What else are you looking for?
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, even if it's on the corner, you got to be swinging at that pitch. So
protect the plate.
Yeah, protect the plate. And you talk about the contracts. You're right. In my dad's time, he always talked about it. Every year you have to go negotiate with the general manager.
Yeah.
And they'd come up with stats that weren't on the back of a baseball card saying, well, Ron, you hit in this many double plays. He's like, wait a second, man. I had 100 and some RBIs. What are you talking about? You felt like every year you had to prove it over again, basically.
Yes. We went on strike. We didn't know it was going to be like this, but I just feel like, it's ruining the game because they're bringing kids up early. I mean, I got 4 years in the minor leagues. All right. I had 3 years going to winter ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if they do that now. Right. Yeah. And I mean, you learn to play in different spots. You learn at other pitchers in other countries. And like these guys, I feel like they get the contract, they don't go play, and playing to me is just learning because you're going to make mistakes. But when you make a mistake, you can't just blow it off. You got to learn something.
Yeah.
And to me, I just feel like it's a whole different ball game. Now, the money they're making, that's nice. I mean, I wish I was making that, but
but think about that though. It's a different game though, right? Like you said, you might see guys not as hungry. And so, and we can see certain parts of the game playing like that, or whether a kid's nervous coming up because, a lot on his shoulders. But that's normal for all you guys. But I do think the money has segregated a lot of the players. That you guys were a little bit more cultured too. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're more street. You're more street.
Yeah, that's true. But also, we stayed on the same team for years.
Yep.
I mean, I was with the Royals for 15 years.
That's amazing.
Right? Yeah. I mean, right. And then now it's like, okay, I'm here and I'll be over here next year. And then I'll go over here. And it's almost like you're just going to the money. And I just, when I wanted to win a championship, I wanted to win it for the city. I wanted to win it for the owner, who was a great owner, Mr. Kaufman. And you go there and you want to put that city on the map, whereas you felt like it was home. And now I just feel like, it's just, who can help us get there? And we're going to give them this amount of money every year. And it just, I don't know, man. I sound like an old guy.
No, it's true, though. It has changed a lot. And I've talked about this a lot on the podcast of even knowing the players. Like, we all knew the numbers. Every guy in their city, you knew by the numbers. And you even knew the stars in both leagues.
Right.
I knew a lot about your team. I was a National League guy, obviously, because of my dad playing with the Cubs. But I knew about the Royals of the 80s. You guys are always there. You're always on a national broadcast TV in the weekends or something. But we know Willie Wilson. We know George Brett. We're watching the playoffs, too, because you guys are there a lot, man.
Right.
And a couple things on this. 2 questions on get to the 85 team. But you were like a 270 hitter in the minor leagues, kind of figuring it out. You get to the bigs and you become this 300 hitter. I mean, you got better when you went to better competition. Tell me that. What was the evolution of it?
Well, the evolution is real simple. They threw strikes in the major league. It's real hard to hit in the minor leagues when you're ducking and everything, It was, and the guys in the minor leagues, when you're an A-ball or rookie ball, you might have, out of the 5 starters, you might have one guy that's going to make it. When you get up higher, each pitcher is, you might have 2 in A-ball, you might have 3 in AA, you might have 4 that might make it in AAA. But in the major leagues, all 5 could throw strikes. You didn't get there if you couldn't throw strikes and you couldn't go 8-7 innings, right? And so that was the difference. When I got up there, if a guy hit you up there back in those days, you knew it was on purpose because they threw strikes. And nowadays, I feel like today's pitchers in the big leagues are like the minor league guys that were throwing the ball all over the freaking place. And therefore, you don't have guys that, are going to hit 300 as often because they're a little bit wilder, but they throw their max.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Think about it that way because you were a disciplined hitter. So when you get up to the bigs, pitchers are more disciplined. You're like, okay, I could play my game now, basically.
Right.
Not have to worry about some wild guy coming in and throwing at my head, in AA or something. And I think you're right about these pitchers today, especially the relievers. There's so many relievers now, and a starter doesn't get past, barely gets past 6, right?
Right.
And you got to face maybe 5 relievers in a game.
And they're going to throw as hard as they can throw,
right?
Which is, because they know they're only going to go against 3 guys, basically. That's the new rule. But if you're facing 3 or 4 different guys a game throwing as hard as, it's tougher to hit. And then they're wild a little bit. And so it really is tougher to hit. So I just wish they would go back to just trying to throw 92 to 95 and throw the ball around the plate. The fans want to see guys hitting.
Yep.
They want to see guys running. They want to see guys making catches. And if you're out there and they're striking everybody out, well, that's no fun. And it's no fun for the fans. That's why I feel like Major League Baseball is like, hey, We got to make the bases bigger.
Yeah.
We got to make them only throw over twice so they can get back to the running and hit and running like we did in the 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
And the 60s.
Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. And the discipline hitter too, right?
Right.
That knows to take those walks and hit. Billy Williams always talked about, Billy well.
Yeah.
He said you got one good pitch to hit. That's why I look for that one good pitch. And it usually comes in a cool, like a count 2-1.
Right.
The pitch. And you see these guys taking that fastball at 2-1.
I know, man.
And you're like, whoa.
Yeah. And I'm not a power hitter, but I know if it's coming down the middle, at least I got a shot at getting a single.
Yeah, right. Totally. Now let's talk about your growing up. Now, you grew up in Alabama when you were a kid, and then you moved to New Jersey. What was your growing up like?
Well, I had some aunties that were really tough on me. My Aunt Sally, my Aunt Martha, my Aunt Lula, and, my grandmother, my Uncle Tim. And so, I was around, hate to say it, women a lot, with all my aunties. But my aunties never made me feel sorry for myself. If something happened, they made me, do this and do that. But, I finally got to New Jersey when I was 7 and, got up to Summit, which is a small little town. They call it a city, but it's a little town. And I was very fortunate because growing up there, it was the third richest city in New Jersey. So I grew up with stuff kind of being given to me on the sports part of it, except for grades. I had to do something to stay around. But I didn't play sports in Summit until 8th grade. I was just, I played in the playgrounds, the recreational center, and I didn't really play baseball, football, or basketball until Mr. Guida, Dominic Guida, said he was running the athletic center, and he goes, hey, man, why don't you go get off that bicycle and go do something constructive? And I was like, what do you want me to do? And he said, go play in that baseball team. And I went over there, and it was a summer league of 8th and 9th grade, and the only position open was catching. And so I caught from 8th grade all the way to 12th grade. And I loved catching. I called a couple no-hitters in high school. We had some really good pitchers. One of the guys that was the pitcher there was George Gross, who ended up being in AAA, got to AAA with the Houston Astros. Another guy was named Roger Hudgens. He was a pitcher, went to college, did pretty good until he hurt his arm. We just had a really good baseball team, and we got to the state finals and lost our senior year. And it was just fun. And then football was the sport that I love.
Now, you played 3 sports, like you said. You played football and basketball, and you were pretty great in all of them. I mean, it seemed like the athletes of your day. My dad, too, played 3 sports, and you didn't play sports until 8th grade, which is unbelievable. I mean, you see these kids now getting trained when they're 8 years old, getting in these leagues, and you come out at 8th grade and you're a 3-sport letterman. And so you could have played football too, right?
Yeah, I could have played football, but I messed around, and I signed a letter of intent to go to University of Maryland. And they had a guy there you probably heard of named Randy White.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
So I saw a spring game, and Randy White messed around and made a great play. And I said to the coach, which is Jerry Claiborne, I go back in the locker room, and I go, hey, I'd like to meet that number 54. He's pretty good, right? I mean, you could see it. He was just above everybody else. And he was in the shower. Coach calls him out of the shower. He's big as anything in college. Here I am, $190, right? So coach introduces him to me. Randy, I want you to meet our next running back, Willie Wilson. He didn't say hi. He didn't say hello. He just said, I hate running backs. So I just went, okay. And in my brain, I was going, I'm going to sign this baseball contract because if I got to run into this guy every day, there's no way, man. So that's how I kind of got out of football. But it was, I visited a bunch of colleges, USC, Michigan, Ohio State. It was just, and Maryland was the first one I visited. And ironically, the guy that took me around in Maryland was the tight end for the Chiefs named Walter White.
Mm.
And so it was
Walter White.
Yeah. And so we became really good friends because he was a Chief and I was a Royal. And we always had fun and up until his death a few years ago.
Mm. And you played basketball too, you were a good basketball player also, right?
Yeah, I was not trying to beat my horn, but I was All-American football, All-American baseball, and All-State basketball. So it was pretty cool. I had a lot of college offers to play that, but I never went to school to try to do it. I just felt like I couldn't compete with the basketball guys.
Do you think was baseball always in your heart more than the other sports?
No, actually, football was.
Oh, it was? Okay.
Football was my number one thing. And baseball, ironically, I signed because my mom had got fired because she went to a football game.
Really?
Well, we were going for the championship Thanksgiving, and my mom worked as a security guard. And they told her if she took off, they were going to fire her. And she was like, I'm going to go see my son play, so you might as well fire me. And they fired her. And for months, she didn't have a job. And so for me, signing that contract gave us some money. And then and at that particular time, I could go try to play baseball. And if it didn't work, you could go back to college at that particular time and I could play football. And so it worked out well to where, I was like, okay, well, I'm going to give this baseball thing a full try and see what happens.
Oh, man.
Worked out pretty well.
Yeah, I say. And so was your dad in the picture at all growing up?
No, actually, he wasn't. It was my mom, my grandmom, my brother, and my aunties and my Uncle Tim. And,
Wow.
I eventually talked to my dad years later, but nothing ever happened. And so, no harm, no foul. What it turned out, my dad didn't really know I was here.
Oh, man.
So I don't blame him. I don't blame my mom. There's no use to try to do that. It's, what it is what it is. And I think, I probably wouldn't have done what I did maybe if he was around. I don't know.
I say that. Yeah, I do.
So,
I talk about my dad like that. My dad's dad left him at 8 years old. So
right.
Like you, he was loved by his mom, and his sister raised him, his older sister. So two females that gave him the love and kept him kind of off the street, And,
yeah.
And who would have known if his dad stuck around and was hard on him, and he would, and it's almost kind of like, I was telling Randy Hundley, because Randy talked about how his dad taught him the one-handed catching, right?
Right.
Got him to the big leagues. Dad really was disciplined, played ball himself. And I said, my dad was kind of the opposite. You made it because your dad's guidance. My dad made it because his dad left him.
Yeah.
Kind of that I'll show you kind of thing. You're not around, watch this. So.
Well, subconsciously in the back of your mind, that's what you're thinking. If he sees me somewhere someday, he'll know that's his son and this is what you missed.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So I get exactly what your dad was thinking about. And speaking of your dad, man, I got to meet him in those fantasy camps all the time, and he was a joy. And I just really was disappointed that they didn't put him in when he was alive. You know what I'm saying? So he can enjoy it.
Yeah,
and
no doubt, man.
But, he deserved it. He was, he was a great player. And, he wanted to win so bad for the Cubbies, man. People don't realize how, you want to win for a city and you want to put them on the map. And, it was one of the reasons I wanted to go be a Cub.
Wow.
Yeah. I'd seen it. I wanted to experience it. And, my last 2 years, I never played in the National League. So I was like, I'm going to go to the Cubs, and it was a great experience. It was different.
What'd you find different about Wrigley?
Well, first of all, the ivy, I love that. To see it not there in the beginning of the season and see it come in. Secondly, the difference was I would just play with the Royals. We won a lot.
Yeah.
I was with the Oakland A's. We won a lot, right? I got with the Cubbies, and I knew that Mark Grace wanted to win. I knew that Sandberg wanted to win. I knew that Shawan Dunston wanted to win. I knew everybody wanted to win, but they would only give you enough for the fans to come see and not enough to win.
Yeah.
And then finally somebody was like, one of the owners, back then was like, okay, we got to get some more people. We got to get better relievers. We got to get better pitching. We got to get better this and that. And they won, and I felt like 2015, the Royals won. 2016, the Cubbies won. And I felt like, hey, man, a dream has come true to be part of that. Yeah. It was, I'm an ex-Cubby. Yeah. So for me to go, wow, man, me and Bobby D were just on the phone to each other. What do you think about,
great, man. That's
and Bobby D, he's a Kansas City native.
Yep.
So he was rooting for us. And then I was rooting for the Cubbies. And then we just both were like, oh, man, this is great. So the teams that I played for got in there and won, and it was really kind of cool, man.
Yeah, it sure was. And you talk about that, like wanting to win for your city. I love that because my dad, Ernie, Billy, those guys that were, played together for so long, and you play with guys like that, and to not win and play with those guys for so long, knowing you have opportunity to win, and in baseball anything can happen, and I feel like, because looking at your career, when you actually got up, I know you went up and down, then you got there and you were there for good. You went to the playoffs your first year, right?
Yeah.
Your first full season.
Yeah.
And my dad and Ernie never got to a playoff game.
I know. And how great they were. Oh, isn't that something? There's so many great players that never got there. And that's how I feel so fortunate to have gotten there twice.
Yeah.
The World Series and won one. I wanted to win two, but somebody had to lose. But, once you lose one, you don't want to lose another one.
Right.
And that's what, so finally we won one. But, to go to playoffs, to go to the World Series, to do that as a young man and just know that there was so many. I just think of Rod Carew. I think of your dad. I think of Fergie. I just go, man, they were just so great. I wish they could have been on a team that took them there.
There were a lot of guys back then because, as up till 69, it was it was win the National League, you're going to the World Series. And then they had two divisions, so it was not easy to get there, right?
No, people didn't realize.
Yeah,
you had like 12, 13 teams in that one division.
Yeah,
and then to mess around and try to win against 13 teams in the division or 12, it was tough.
Yeah. And then you guys got to win. Then you got to play the Yankees, right?
Yeah. Well, freaking Yankees. To this day, I don't like the Yankees. I'm sorry to say it. I grew up in Jersey. I was never a Yankee fan. And to beat them was so gratifying because, it's the Yankees. They talk all that BS. Yeah. Use my language. I hope the Yankees fans are hearing me right now.
Don't worry about that.
But yeah, man, it was. I just don't like him. And you play the Yankees, and then the other team that is like the Yankees was the Dodgers.
Yeah,
they were. They had that aura about them. Like can't nobody beat us. Blah blah blah. And we were the lonely little team from the Midwest. Playing the big bad Yankees.
Right. But KC, for people that weren't around in the 80s are it's my time, I graduated high school, going to college. So you guys were so good. Like that team you had, man, And it was tough to win the World Series because you're Kansas City, because you still are that smaller team.
Yeah.
You're going to have to play a giant, one of the giants, right?
Yeah.
But you guys, what was the equation that made you guys so good and then actually winning it? What was that year in '85 that got you to get the ring?
Well, first of all, luck. Because that year, if you put all of the teams that the Royals ever had, that was probably the worst playoff team the Royals ever had as far as stats and all that kind of stuff. But we had enough veterans to get us over the hump, and we had enough luck because we were down 3-1 in Toronto, and we ended up winning the next 3 games. Right. So, I mean, think about that.
Yeah.
That's almost impossible to do today.
Cubs did it too in 16, right? Yeah.
Right. We were down 3-1. And then you got that year, they decided to go from 5 games to 7. So if we were down 3-1, we would have been out. Right? We would have never got, and that's how the Yankees would beat us. 5 games, right? They changed it to 7. Now when we go to St. Louis, it wasn't the team that made us mad. It was the sign on the tower as we're getting off the plane. They're winning 2 games. They're up 2-0. And we get off the plane, and on the tower it says, "Welcome home, 1985 World Series champs." And they'd only won 2 games. And so we kind of like looked at each other coming off, like, oh, they just think they're just going to walk all over us. And then we won game 3. We lost game 4, and then we had to win the next 2 at our place, and we did. So what makes us motivated sometimes is not the players, it's what other people say. And, when you're talking and you're not playing, you don't know what you're motivating players to do. And so that sign on that tower motivated our whole team.
Wow, man.
Crazy.
And talk about your manager. You like
Dick?
Yeah. Do you like Dick?
Yeah, I did. We called him the Little General.
Ha!
He was small in stature. But Dick never changed his emotions, right? If we were winning, he was the same way he was when we were losing. He never panicked. Like you get a manager panicking, we're going to start panicking, right? Because the players follow their manager. And Dick was just as calm as could be. He, he never said we couldn't do nothing. He saw us play, and he just kept us on the right track. And, it was a shame what happened to him the next year, going through the cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But he was just stoic, man. And I liked him. Everybody liked him. That's why we won.
He got you guys there, man, and you won. I mean, there's some, right?
Yeah.
That feat is so hard to do. And what was Brett like, your relationship with Brett?
Luther, man, I call him Luther. Everybody else calls him Lou for like Lou Gehrig and all that stuff. I just call him Luther for Superman, Lex Luthor.
Right. Right on.
Guy. But George, he was the superstar and we knew it. Okay? But he wasn't a superstar that walked around saying, "I'm a superstar." George ran just as hard as we did. He slid just as hard as we did. Wow. He fought just as much as we did. And, it wasn't his fault that he was a superstar. He was just good for us. I love that every now and then I see him now, he'll hug me, and he calls me Bean. That's my nickname, Bean. Bean, we just celebrated the 85 World Series and the 2015 last weekend. And he hugs me and he goes, "You made it so easy for me. Love you, man." And so for me, that just is all I needed. He knew he couldn't have got there without us.
Yeah. You guys were the 300 hitters, man.
Yeah. So, I always loved George. My son, he's down here now. My oldest son, George was kind of person where when my son was born, I come in the clubhouse and he's got this little football with a bell in it. And he's going, I was just walking by a store. I thought about you and I just bought this for your son. That was my son's first present.
Oh my God.
Right?
That's
so, I mean, how do you not like that guy?
No, right.
Right?
Such a gamer.
So,
yeah.
Yeah.
And
hey, man, he'd fight in a heartbeat, though.
Yeah, right. Right.
I mean, he was a good dude, man. He could play. And, when you can play and you're not boasting about, you know how we know some guys that, they just keep talking, I, me. The game is not all about you. It's about us.
Yeah, man. So, and you, another thing that your stolen bases and your triples that you led the league in triples 5 times. How do you hit 21 triples in a season? What happens there? Is a bounce? You hit a certain place in KC that it's a triple, or?
Well, yeah, down the lines were triples. A lot of them were down the lines, left or right field line, and then the gaps. You hit them in the gaps, and Royal Stadium was pretty big.
Yep.
And when back in those days, not everybody had AstroTurf. Boston, they didn't have AstroTurf. The Yankees didn't have AstroTurf. Detroit didn't have AstroTurf. Cleveland didn't have AstroTurf. But the guys they had on the team, like Jim Rice, big dudes.
Yeah.
Right? Dewey, Evans, big dudes. And Reggie, he couldn't catch. So, when you got big home run hitting dudes on AstroTurf, they're a little bit slower and they're not going to go after the ball as quick because they're trying to get a right angle on it. And what we did was we just kept running. Everybody on our team could run. I mean, even John Watham, who was a catcher, set the major league record for stolen bases for a catcher. Everybody could run. And so we tried to use what we had on the turf to our advantage. And then that's how we kind of won a lot of games because of the turf. And, when you come into our place, guys would play back so far because they didn't want the turf ball to get past them. And so therefore I got a lot of triples and, it was just different. But I took off. When I saw it hit the corner, I was at full speed.
You knew right from you could say, okay, this is a trip. I'm going for it. This is a trip right away. You weren't making your mind up after first base.
As soon as I hit it, I had my mind. You run hard until they make you stop.
Yeah. Wow.
Right. And then you got to make your mind up between between first and second halfway, because you can see the whole play in front of you. So you're making your mind up, okay, they got to make a perfect throw if I hit it at this angle and all of that. And so I forgot I had 21 triples.
My dad in 1964 led the league in triples. Can you believe that? Hardly stole a bag, and he had 13 triples.
But he knew the game.
Yeah, right.
And he knew the players out there. And that's how you have to, do it. Your dad wasn't slow, though.
Right. He was quick, right? He knew how to run the bases, but he wasn't he didn't have great speed.
Yeah, but he knew when and where to go. And sometimes, you don't want to make the first out. Right. And you don't want to make the last out trying to make a triple. Right. So when you're going there, you got to know in the back of your head, I got to make this. Right.
Right.
Right. So
you think about someone like him you're not going to have a leadoff triple unless it's necessary. I mean, I guess, because you don't want to make the first out there, the last out, but he must hit some balls that ricochet went, right field. They're playing something.
Well, they weren't all in Chicago either.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
They were in other ballparks too. So, he knew how to run the bases, man. And that's the whole key to base. There's base stealers and there's base runners.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And, guys that didn't necessarily steal a lot of bases knew how to run the bases.
Yeah, exactly.
You got to cut the corner. You got to hit it and your judgment, and you got to know the arm of the outfielder and all that kind of stuff too. And so for us, it wasn't computers. it was just knowledge.
Totally, man.
And so you see it, and it's just playing the game of baseball
right
that you played when you were a little kid, right? That's how we played it.
They don't talk about, well, I can't say they don't talk about your feeling much, but you won 1 Gold Glove. I think you should have won a lot more, don't you?
Well, I won it in left field. I thought I should have won a couple more Golden Gloves, but then you had some pretty good outfielders out. You had Devon White. He played out there. He won a few Golden Gloves. And plus, for me, I got in trouble in 1984. And so from that point on, they weren't going to vote for me for hardly
Isn't that crazy,
anything
man?
else.
Yeah. That went down. The 80s were a crazy era. You had, in my dad's era, they did greenies, right? Did you guys do the greenies at all?
Oh, yeah. We did.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, but, it's the same thing back when, when they were talking about the red juice, back in those days. You're tired, man. So it's like, you got to go out there every day. And some dudes did it every day, but a lot of guys just did it every once in a while. But it was part of the game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
what was that like for you, though, Willie, in 84 when that happened?
It was quite a shock because, what people don't realize is that I wasn't doing it for me. I was calling for somebody else.
Wow.
And because I was calling for somebody else, they said, you're like a distributor.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So either I'm going to be charged or as a participant, or I'm going to be charged as a distributor. So we took the lesser. And so when I tried to say that to people, they didn't understand it. So I would just go, yeah, man, I was in the street. I'd make up stuff. And they believed that part, and they started feeling sorry for me. So, but it was to the point where, hey, man, it happened. I was very disappointed, not from them. It was me who did it, right? It wasn't anybody else's fault. What I was disappointed was I put my kids and family through that situation, which shouldn't have happened, but it happened. And that's the part I felt bad about.
Yeah, man. For people that don't know you, I've gotten to know you over the fantasy camps for years now, man. You're one of the nicest, coolest human beings, man. And, I can remember when that happened. Today the news is different, social media, all that is crazy. So the players really kind of like, they got to just hide out today, man.
Right.
But back then, 80s, drugs were out there in the 80s, man. It was just, it was out there everywhere. And people don't know the real story. So when a story comes out, you really don't know. You just hear it and you think, oh, that guy is, a certain way or something.
Yeah.
And I meet you. I'm like, I don't even, I remember it kind of, back then, but I didn't know the real story. You just hear. But the Royals kept you and got rid of everyone else, right?
Yeah. That was a strange meeting I had with Mr. Kaufman. He made me bring my whole family up to his, not baseball office, his business office. And he jumped on me, man. I mean, he got on me in front of my wife and kids. And he said, I got rid of this guy. I got rid of that guy. I let this guy go. And he goes, but I'm going to give you a 4-year contract. And my eyes went, whoop. Like, what? Like, it was like, I'm thinking he's going to jump me, right? And then all of a sudden he gives me a 4-year contract and he says, if you ever do this again on my watch, you will hear the wrath of Mr. Kaufman. And that was in 84. And that was the reason in 85 I wanted to win it so bad for him.
Wow, man.
What a good man. He was such a good man.
Wow, that says what he thought about you, right? So,
right.
Which is so cool. And, you're a 5-tool player. I mean, you look at those stats and, when you had a 705 at bats. I mean, come on, 161 games. And
Yeah.
people don't realize, because I can attest, because I know what you guys go through, right?
Yeah.
I played ball up college Division I, but didn't have it to get to where you guys were. But my dad, we got to see it, my brother and I, and how hard it is to endure a 162 game season without getting hurt.
Yeah, that's the big key. And even though we played, a lot of us were hurt because you didn't want to go in the training room in those days, because in our minds, no owner wants to pay for somebody that's hurt all the time, right?
Yeah.
So a lot of us did play every day, a little bit banged up. And from your dad, there's not one game that you go out there you're not hurting somewhere, right? So it's always, they would tell you, it's mind over matter. If you don't mind, it don't matter. Right?
Yeah.
So we would always go, hey, man, we need you. And so I remember Hal McRae saying to me one day, my legs were killing me, and he would grab me and he'd go, a one-legged Willie is better than a two-legged somebody else. Get your butt out there, man. And that's how we played. We knew we had a nucleus, and we knew that we had a core of guys that knew how to play. And we were going to play, and we were going to help each other. I kind of hurt my arm one time, and I would just tell Frank, can you come out 10 more yards, 15 more yards, so I can get the ball to you,
Wow.
But that's how we kind of played. That's how it was. And nobody wanted to disappoint the other guys. So you just played.
Yeah,
so that's how it was.
You guys had those cool blue unis too, man. They were
Yeah.
The Royals were pretty cool in the 80s, man. That team was rocking. And the pitching staff, Charlie Liebrandt's from my hometown.
Right.
Great family. What'd you think of Charlie? What'd you think of your pitching staff?
Well, we just saw Charlie.
Did you?
Yeah, we had all these guys for the 40-year anniversary last weekend. So Charlie was, an Atlanta product.
Yeah.
And so when we first saw him, we didn't really know him, but he had a great changeup. He can spot the ball where he wanted to put it. And he was a great help for us. And, he was the one that got a couple bad breaks in the World Series that it could have been worse, but we came back to win.
Right.
And we had Charlie, we had Buddy Black, who just got fired from Colorado. We had Mark Gubazar, Brett Saberhagen, and Danny Jackson.
And then Quiz, right?
Well, Quiz was one of the relievers. He was our stopper. And the funny thing about Quiz couldn't break a pane of glass. I mean, he just came underhand. He didn't throw hard. He could throw a knuckleball, a slider. He had a sinking fastball, but he just came underhand. And, he could get guys out. He didn't strike them out. It was just ground balls. And he got to the point where, Quiz had, 30 saves for like 3 or 4 years in a row, right? Yeah. He was just, he was our guy. And, that's just how we were. We loved each other, man. And when you're playing with each other and you got George Brett, Frank White, Hal McRae, Dan Quisenberry, and me, we played 15 years together.
That's amazing, man.
Yeah.
You'll never
Isn't that something?
Again. Yeah, that's something that's just, and guys like same thing with Billy and my dad. I mean, they held the record for two teammates that played the most innings together in Major League Baseball history until, the Astros did it with Biggio and Bagwell,
Right.
That's something else, that it's family. I mean,
yeah,
that is
man.
Family, man.
And we're with those guys more than we are with them.
Yeah. Did your sons play at all?
My oldest son played football. The coach didn't want baseball in his life because they do weights during baseball season. My other sons kind of played at it. My one son was really good, Trevor, but he, I took him from here to Canada and kind of messed everything up. But right now he's sitting over here with his son and my grandson. And
yeah, that's awesome.
I'm really happy to be with them, both of them.
Yeah, that's great.
So, yeah.
That's great. Well, I know, like, it's not easy having a dad, that can, do all the things you guys did. We love the game, but it's just, it's a different mentality. I always say that the father had a different upbringing than, and that could usually the difference. You're seeing more and more players today, their sons being in the big leagues.
Right.
And that might have to do with a lot more money and time and all that,
Right.
Because you guys didn't have much time,
No, we didn't have much time. And, we wanted our kids to be what they wanted to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's hard, like you said, to follow in your dad's footsteps because you're not your dad. You're you.
Yep.
And we want you to be what you want to be and not be responsible. And, my brother went through it, I think, more than my kids because my brother was 6'5". He was a big dude. And, in football, they thought he should have played football because he was so big, but it wasn't him. And so he went through it a lot, too. I know my oldest son went through it a lot. My oldest daughter went through it a lot. And my oldest middle son went through it. But, my youngest son, he didn't go through it as much. I was kind of out when he came in.
Right, right.
But it's kind of good to see them doing what they're doing and prospering in this life.
Yeah, that's great, man. And let me ask you last thing here. I'll let you go, Willie. Today's ball player, I want to ask you about because you played center and speed and power and all. What do you think of PCA?
PCA? What is PCA?
Pete Crow Armstrong, the Cubs center fielder, the rookie.
Oh, okay. I was like, what the heck? I like the kid.
Yeah.
I like the way he goes after, and I like the way he enjoys himself out there because, it took me a little bit to, took me a little bit to get used to him celebrating home runs and stuff like that, right? Stuff that we wish we could have done, but we knew we were going to get beat up the next at bat if we did something like that. But I like him. He can really play center.
Yeah,
he can play it. He's confident at it, and if the Cubbies kind of stick with him, man, I think he's going to be a really good player. He's got to learn a few more things hitting wise, but if he's getting the opportunity every day to play, he's going to turn out to be a pretty good kid.
Yeah, man, there's some people that doubted him, and I said, no, man, just by watching his, like you said, his attitude, it's confidence. I don't think he's so much, it's just he's playing it like a kid, and I think you gotta respect that because I think that's how you got to play this game, right?
It's a kid's game.
Yeah.
And, it's like somebody said to me the other day, you guys are playing a kid's game. You just never grew up. You just got older.
That's so true. Because I always look at being a son of a big leaguer like your sons. I always felt like I'm a forever kid because of that. You just can't you remember those days of just being in the field with your dad and then you guys are just big kids that
pretty much
beautiful.
That's all we are.
Beautiful environment though, man. I just go back to those days of remembering being in a clubhouse with guys like you, man. You guys are the real deal. Willie, you're something special, man. You had a great career and hell of a ball player, hell of a man. So thank you for being on. Can't wait to see you next time soon.
All right. Thanks, Jeff. Thanks for having me, man. Good luck on there.
Thank you, man. Have a great time with your family.
All right. Peace.
All right. Take care, Willie. Thanks.
All right. Later.
You're the best, brother.
Check out a collection of movies by Santo Films now streaming. This Old Cub, the critically acclaimed documentary about Ron Santo and his Hall of Fame career while battling type 1 diabetes in a time when diabetes was unknown to most. It is available on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon. Jake's Corner, a family drama starring Richard Tyson, Diane Ladd, and Danny Trejo. And Liar's Poker, a whodunit featuring Flea from the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Then there's Dead in 5 Heartbeats, an off-the-grid motorcycle club film with real motorcycle clubs produced by Sonny Barger Productions and Santo Films. All films were written, produced, and directed by Jeff Santo. Watch now on Tubi, iTunes, and Amazon.
Crackerjack.
What's going on?
Hey, Joey Banks. How are you, buddy?
Good. Good. How you doing?
Are you working? I got you as my crackerjack call.
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah.
Are you on set?
I am. Yes, I am. No.
Okay.
Hold on a second. Hold on. All right. Is that better, Jeff?
Yeah, a lot better. How
Good,
you doing,
good.
man?
I'm good. How are you doing, Jeff? I was just thinking about you the other day.
Good, man. Yeah, me too, man. I was, at Gino's East here in L.A., and I heard you were in there, and you don't call me to come over and get a pizza with you at a Chicago joint.
I was working down the street, and they said, let's go to lunch. And I said, there's Gino's right on Riverside Drive. Let's just go there. So me and my buddy, one of the drivers, we went to Gino's, and it was just only a couple of us there in the whole restaurant.
Cool.
It was like in the afternoon.
Oh, great, man. What'd you get?
I had the Italian beef, sandwich.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
actually
awesome.
I had 1.5 sandwiches because that bread is awesome.
Oh my God! That I went there yesterday, so I stopped in there yesterday, and I had the exact same thing, Italian beef. You want another one, you know what I mean? But at our age, you got to watch yourself. So,
the other guy I was with, he goes, "You want to share with me?" And I go, "Oh, all right." And I got one, and it was small, so I ate that, and then I'm like, "Yeah, I'm gonna need another one." So I got another one.
Totally, man. Hey, listen, it's funny because I talked to Dan and Todd over there, and they said you told them about my injuries at the camp. I said, did he tell you though that my team beat him and Ronnie's team in the championship?
I may have omitted that. I'm not sure. But yeah, no, you're a trooper, man. I couldn't believe it. You're amazing. You're a stud.
Oh, how about you, Bill, man? You told me, that bruise you had, that literally, I've never seen a groin bruise that big, man, and still play.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, they wrapped it, and it was difficult to push off, and, when you're pitching and that's your back leg, it's hard to drive when you're hitting, and it just affected so much. And Lynch saw me. He goes, how long have you had that? And I go, I don't know, since game 2. You got 8 more games. Right. Yeah. It was something that when you go to camp like that, you're going to expect something, but I never knew that it would be that groin. I was stretching everything else, and the trainer goes, "You got to stretch your groin if you don't stretch anything else." And I did completely the opposite. Right.
I thought I did everything before I got out there, but the first day it was my meniscus. Then I'm favoring. Then the Achilles, the calf. I didn't walk. I 3 weeks. I had crutches for like 10 days. I'm still hurting.
Wow.
I'm finally getting better, man. But that was fun. Yeah. Did you see the ring I posted?
It's like the Cubs ring.
Yeah. The Cubs ring that we never got, right?
My wife one day said, you got a box. I go, is it the size of a ring? She said, no, it's got T-shirts in it. Send me a bunch of World Series T-shirts. For the Cubs when they want it. And I'm like, come on, guys. I want a small box.
Right. It's, your dad and my dad's ring they're at Wrigley. They're on show, right? That's where they are. So they're,
Well, that's great. That's great.
Yeah, it is. Exactly. That's where it belongs. But hopefully one day, maybe we'll get them. Who knows? Yeah. That'd be nice. That would be wonderful. Yeah, it would be nice. Hey, listen, I just wanted to touch base, but I got a couple questions I just want to ask you about your dad. And so, since we both came from, similar places, right? Not too many, grew up in the clubhouse like we did, and with fathers like we had, which, they've been gone for a while now. What was the most important thing you learned about life growing up watching your dad?
How losing tests you, tests your fortitude, it teaches your resilience, it brings you character. Losing, you're really winning in a way. I don't know. It's a great question. I think that humility, he was very, he didn't talk about himself a lot, but I did learn a lot about the game, and losing was a part of it. Growing up was losing. You grow by losing.
Right.
Unfortunately, that's the name of the game, is being able to handle that loss. And when we'd come in the clubhouse and it would be dead silent, and you're like, "What's going on? Why is everyone so quiet?" Be like, "Don't say anything." And everyone was quiet when they lost. Of course, it was a completely different animal when they won. And as a child, you kind of understand what losing is very early, especially the Cubs. They were not very successful in most times, and coming in the clubhouse at the end of the day, it was quiet, and you knew when to speak and who to speak to and when not to speak, and you kind of felt it in the air. But I think losing, you gain a lot by feeling that loss and how you can make it better, and what you did to lose, and how it could have maybe been better by you doing just a couple more things better. That's like in life, right?
Totally.
So I think that may be the one thing I may have learned through him or them, your dad, all of them.
Right.
Is that losing is important in life, and it brings you character, it brings you resilience, and don't quitting, and learning from those mistakes, hopefully. So that's probably it.
Wow, that's powerful, man. I mean, I didn't know how you're going to answer that, and I had kind of an answer in my head, and that's the best answer. Because I've said this many times, in your household too. My house, we lost, right? We lost. I mean, that's what our dads did, and how bad they wanted to win too. Both those guys. Yeah, your dad and my dad, and being there so long. Yeah, and just I had Willie Wilson as my special guest, so we talked. His first year, he got into the playoffs, right? And it's sometimes a lot of luck what team, but that was such a good team that they built there. And my dad, I said, Ernie and my dad never got to a playoff game, and as a family, we didn't get there, right? And so and made that losing has really, that's been a big thing in our lives, man. And it does make you humble. It does get you back up, but also there's a lot of pain there. I didn't realize that until later, like just carrying that maybe sometimes you expect it too much, but you definitely get to reflect and and like you said, I got to say too, my dad handled that losing like a champ, and everything, losing his legs, so that's a wonderful answer, man.
I have a picture of my dad. He popped a 3-run home run. He won the game, and then he came in, and your dad literally grabbed his neck, like you think it would be the World Series.
Right.
Like they learned to. You'd think it was the World Series. The way the face on your dad, the joy, was just. He appreciated winning. Yep. He really did. Yep. He really wanted to win. Like everybody wants to win, of course, but your dad, that look, I have several pictures of your dad and my dad together, and one is going in the stands, and the other one is him giving a full Nelson. That's what it was, a half Nelson. Yeah, he grabbed him around the neck, oh my God, I can't believe we just did that.
Yeah.
When the other
like
one,
shaking his helmet off his head, right? Like,
yeah. He just. You think they would just won the championship because every game mattered so much because they were such good the competitors, and they would do that, and you could see the result of the happiness, pure happiness of your dad, Your dad was such a competitor. It was crazy.
And they were beautiful, man. We'll never lose those images as kids, right? They're so big, for us. And, just how long they played together, I mean, it's amazing, him, Billy, your dad, Billy, and my dad, and, to not get in a playoff game. I know it hurt him and I know it hurt your dad. They wanted to be there so much, man, but boy, were they good men, on how they did handle that. And it has made us better people from that. There's no doubt in life. And
I believe it. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. I mean, you said it. That's it, man. Wow. And another question I want to ask you, what do you miss most about your dad not being here today?
His calls.
Yeah, man.
His calls, his enthusiasm. He would know what I'm doing and not be anywhere near me. And he started scaring me, like, at the golf course. Yeah, I am actually. He goes, I got a spy plane up there. I know you know people, so I know you know people in the CIA and all that probably. So you got a spy plane on me, Dad? What's going on? But he kind of had an intuition about what I was doing, and I miss his phone calls, his energy.
Yeah,
with such a consistent energy. And,
God, man.
Of course, when your parents pass away, you have questions, and I have photos. And, I'd always like to ask, like, what are you thinking in this photo? You're off into your own thoughts. And a couple of them, one was with Jackie Robinson and Larry Doby at the step of the dugout. And here's this kid sitting on the step, kind of dejected. And I found out that was a post All-Star game photo, and he had made an error and had an offer. And, so he was kind of contemplating on like his day. He wasn't, he wasn't he was looking like he literally had a bad day. And I found out just through research that game, he did have a bad game. And, he was kind of contemplating that whole day, like what happened. And it looked like he was daydreaming off into, another place. But I would like to ask him several questions about just what he's thinking at certain times of his at bats, or maybe after a guy knocked him down. And he would tell me something probably, I'm assuming, very politically correct and not exactly what he wanted to say. But I tell you this: the next at bat, he hit a home run. Every time he went down in the dirt, they paid for it.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
man.
With a 3-run home run, and one time he hit 3-run home run, and next time he got knocked out by Mo Jabrowski. He hit 3 home runs off 3 different guys in the same game. Wow. Chris Bryant's got to have therapy after he gets hit in the head.
Yeah, I know.
And he's got all the Kevlar and face guard, and it's just no helmet days, as you know. So I'd like to I'd like to ask him some questions about. I have photos, and that he's looking off, and I have a photo of him sitting next to Leo DeRocher with his warm up jacket on, and he looks like he's going to literally start crying. I've never seen him so unhappy. So just photos like that. He probably, like I said, wouldn't tell me exactly what he's thinking. But by his look, I know that he's not happy. And there's very rare photos of him not happy. And this is one of them that he looks very not happy. So probably that.
Your dad, those guys, and I've seen photos of your dad. He's a thinker, right? You could just tell, right? I mean, you think about it, everything that's going on in his head, the games, those big games, everything, they're thinkers, man. And, you said about his energy. I circled that too when I wrote the question down for you. I said, I miss my dad's energy. And you said that. I can't believe it. I have it circled here. And that's his presence, right? Just the phone calls too. He did the same kind of phone calls to us, me, Ronnie, Linda, and just being the presence of the family, right? There's just, he is the silverback, right? So
we gave up so much as kids. And I got this question asked to me in an interview 6 months ago or whatever, some podcast. And he goes, do you think that you got a special treatment because you're at Banks? Or get special treatment? And I'm like, I don't know. It's not like I walk in and say, hey, I'm Ernie's son. Where's the best table? I just, like you don't know. You'd have to ask someone that hired me on the job. Like, did you hire me for me, or did you hire me for what I do, how I do it? And you would hope that you have enough skill and it got you in the door, your dad's name, but then after that, it's on you. And then we have this huge pressure to fulfill the name and keep the standard of that he set, which is unbelievable standards our fellas set. So there's a little pressure, if I don't feel very talkative one day and, someone said, well, what's the matter with him? He's got a bad attitude, or he's not talkative. No, I'm not like him. He talks all the time. He waved at somebody, and then there you go. You got a 20-minute conversation.
Right. And we're always waiting in those conversations, right? It's just,
my God. Yeah, let's go.
It's that, man. There's a lot there with growing up and having to, like, even, knowing when to speak in the class. We just knew how to behave. We were kids, but we knew a lot because we hung around men so long, right? That,
for sure.
Big, large, greater than life men. And, it's so true, because I think, people think, oh, we had it easy or this or that. And there's some very cool treatment. We had a very cool childhood, but when that childhood ended, when they quit playing baseball, it was over, right? So life is, the real world, there's judgment on us right away, that you don't even think, people aren't going to parties. I go to parties, I hear, oh, I struck out your brother. It's like, give me a break,
Yeah, a big deal. That was like something big in his life, like he struck out, Ronnie.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And so, but other kids don't you don't know what you're really going through, but you are going through a lot of people are looking at you because of that.
For sure.
And you don't know it per se, and it's almost like I wish I knew a little bit more about that. But the cool part about it is that we were just regular because of the way our dads were. We were cool. We had to be, because if we didn't, that was the life. Yeah. You had to watch stuff, because you don't want to be, picked up here or there, or something goes wrong, and it's on them too.
Yeah, we had a lot of exterior pressures. As far as I played shortstop, and that was looking back, I should have played center field. Like, is it enough? Is it not enough that I'm a Banks? I got to play the same position.
Right. Yeah.
And I'm a completely different player. I'm hit the ball in the line drive and run guy, and he's the guy who hits it out and jogs. We have a good glove and, good instincts and all those things, but, I'm playing the same position as the second best player in the century at shortstop, besides Cal Ripken, from 1900.
Right.
It's like, I didn't really even think of that.
Yeah, totally. My brother played third. I played third. Yeah, I played short in Pony League, but I played third in high school. It's like, come on.
I've given out at least 1,000 autographs of my dad. I gave 70 out in 2020 when COVID happened. I did a radio thing, and I said, I'll give you guys autographs, because I give those 5x7 autographs out still, or did.
Oh, nice.
I still have them. I still do it. But the guy got off the phone. He goes, you were talking to 70 employees, not 8, on the Zoom call. So I sent out 70 autographs to the guy, and he passed them out. The workers came back from COVID. They came back from COVID, to the stadium. Some had died. Some didn't return. They were older. But I gave out to him, and he passed them all out to them when they came back to the stadium. I couldn't send out 70 different people,
No. I can't believe you sent 70 of them. Wow.
Yeah, wow. I did. I sent 70 of them. Wow. So, no one really tells me to do, obviously, any of that or suggest it. I do it because I want his legacy to continue, and he would like me to do it. He would like me to do it. And people still tell me, hey, I have that on my mantle. And, I still see people that tell me they have that frame.
Yeah, man.
Like, in their office, and And then he had a table at Harry Carey's, and there's been about 6 people that have gone to Chicago for anniversaries and seeing the city and vacation. And they've gone to Harry Carey's, and I have a $200 tab there where, if you have $250, you pay $50. It's $200 free, $200 on the house.
Wow,
so
man.
They don't know that when I call Grant. I don't know if you know Grant DePorter.
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, of course.
So I call Grant and say, hey, I got a couple people coming in. Don't tell them it's on the house, till the end. And that I've been doing that. I've done that like 5 or 6 times, with them, and it's just I'm using his name to benefit others, just because that's what he would do.
Yep.
Or he would want me to do that. So
he would, man. He would.
I'm kind of doing what he would want me to do, even though I know, he would never tell me to do any of this stuff. But I still do it. And I enjoy doing it. And,
the thing with like our dads, and you talk about like you look at pictures of them when they passed, and I did the same thing, man. I just get deeper into the psychology of him. I want to, more about his childhood, all the stuff, because the older we get, we're hitting those ages where, I'm hitting the age where I did this old cub on my dad, and he lost both of his legs. I can't even believe I'm at the similar age right now,
Well, yeah.
And because it doesn't feel, Joey, like we're forever kids because of what we grew up in.
Yeah, I don't feel my age.
Right.
Whether just because I take care of myself or, I'm just lucky. I don't feel my age. In fact, it's kind of scary that like, wow, I only have 2 more years before I'm going to retire. And it's like, I don't really want to. I mean, I'm good.
Yeah.
I feel fine. I don't have any ailments, luckily. So I'm just, I'm thankful in that respect. But yes, as I get older, it's kind of sobering that, we've done so much. We've had a great life.
Yeah.
I know it's been rocky up and down, just like any other lives. You with your motorcycle stuff and, me in just the entertainment industry for 42 years.
Yeah, you've been in it for it's a long time, man. I've been about 30. Yeah,
84.
It's so cool that both of us went that way. It's like, what do you do coming from a life? Well, you got to go to another kind of big life, or at least try it, right?
Yeah.
So,
but yeah, I think our dads shaped us for life. That losing is a big part of it. You don't accept losing. You just kind of take it better and try harder and learn from it. And so, yeah, I think they really groomed us for life in another way by losing.
I laugh at that, but it's so true. There's a depth there that, that I can just relate with you on, right? It's like, we don't want to lose, right? And every time that something happens or a failure in my life, like you said, I want to get better at it so I don't wind up in the same place with the same kind of, feelings of what went wrong. But you're so right. And that has been a mainstay in my life. So you're dead on about that, man. And, we always, we both come from broken families too, right? Our parents got divorced and all that. And, that wasn't easy going through that stuff. And we still remained with our dads because we knew how much our dads put on their shoulders. You know what I mean? They were different kind of guys, that you can go, hey man, they put some really good stuff out into the world, all the time. Both of those guys, So you're like, hey, family stuff, it happens. We get it, So we were kind of, on our own a lot of those times in those worlds, but they trusted us to just do what we had to do while they did their thing, which is so different than today. So I'm thankful for all that, man. Yeah.
Yeah. No, our relationship with them and even the like Carmen Fanzone and Yosh and, Bill Hands and Fergie and all those guys, they were like our uncles. We had like 22 uncles.
Yeah. Yeah,
Carmen
man.
Fanzone,
God.
he used to beat me up. He he used to turn me upside down and shake the change out of my pockets, and
that's funny,
put his beard on me. He put
just hanging out in that little
his whiskers and all that.
Right. That little clubhouse we all hung out in. Just, man, yeah, I can't believe it was, you're talking, 50 years ago,
Yeah.
50 years ago, shit, and more.
Yeah.
So
I'm so glad that you guys go to the camp, and that, it's so important for those campers to hang with us and drink with us.
I thought it was really cool, man. Yeah.
Great to hear your voice. I was just thinking about you. Let's get together. We'll go to Champs and we'll have some beers and have some lunch.
Yeah, Champs or Geno's.
Or even Geno's. Yeah, there you go.
Let's do Geno's. Yeah, let's do Geno's.
Sounds great.
We'll do
Geno's
that.
Is better. Great
Let's
idea.
do it in the next couple of weeks, right? You around town?
Yes, I am. I'm in town. I'm in town.
And Jerry's doing well? Tell my son hello?
Jerry's doing good. His son graduated 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Oh, cool,
Marcelo
man.
graduated from Butler College in Chicago area with a anthropology degree. I maybe double major, but yeah, his son graduated, and they went back to Chicago for a weekend or so, and he's doing good. Thanks for asking. I'll tell him you said hi.
All right, Joey. Yeah, do that. All right, pal. I'll be talking the next couple of weeks. Can't wait to see you.
Okay, will do. You too.
Thanks, pal. See you.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for listening to our show. Special thanks to our cool crackerjacks, Scott Nelson, Jim McCauley, Debbie Foley, Sherry Matarisi, Terry O'Brien, Gary Tallman, Anne-Marie Pascule, Jim Muleschlegel, Mac McPhillamy, and Liz Rutherford.
This show is made possible because of them and all of our subscribers. If you want to support the show and be a cool crackerjack yourself, subscribe on our Patreon page, click the link below this episode, or go to the Patreon tab on our website, www.peanutspopcornandcrackerjacks.com.
I don't even know why I'm saying this next thing. Leave a review on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, or don't leave a review, or don't listen to us, because no one's leaving a review.
We're just happy that you listen. Thank you.
Oh, no. I want a review.
Tell a friend.
I want a review.
Tell a friend.
Okay, tell a friend. Tell a friend to watch, listen, and then leave a review. Okay.
And don't hesitate to write. Give us suggestions. Tell us how you're liking the show. Email jeff.ppcpodcast@gmail.com.
For my closing quote, you hit home runs not by chance, but by preparation. Roger Maris.
Toodaloo! At santofilms.com, we offer a diverse range of products, including indie films, movie posters, books, music, and related merchandise. Check out our new This Old Cub apparel and podcast merchandise. Or delve into the pages of Ravens in the Rain, a twisty tale about a woman with a past and a man with no future. Or immerse yourself in the soundtrack from the original motion picture Jake's Corner, featuring 5 original songs by B.J. Thomas and the film score by award-winning songwriter Steve Dorff. Enjoy free shipping on all orders of $40 or more. Use the code PODCAST at checkout. Support small business. Visit www.santofilms.com. And while you're there, click the link for the Ron Santo official website. We've got a retro-inspired Ron Santo fan club shirt, Ron Santo pizzeria shirts, and signature apparel. Go to www.santofilms.com.